I'm Plami, and in this episode of Plami's Thought Zone, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on the second episode of the 13th season of what used to be one of my favorite shows ever, Doctor Who. And I've already talked about what I don't like about current Doctor Who, thus why this show is not one of my favorite shows ever anymore. We'll see whether that's gonna change with the next showrunner, but I honestly will not be holding out much hope for that. I've talked about it before, so I'm not gonna reiterate that, but as I said in the last video in which I reviewed the first episode of the 13th season, which was actually surprisingly good, I said that if I continue to find it interesting, I'll do reviews, and if I don't, I'm just gonna stop whenever I don't really feel like doing more reviews. And luckily, episode 2 was actually pretty fucking good. But before we get into it, I just want to quickly apologize for taking so long in doing this review, because it's been like 3-4 weeks since that episode, and it's not like I meant to take such a long break between any of the videos that I do on my channel, but it's just that, as you can see, I've moved back to this place, and I've had to renovate and move around some of the furniture that you can see in the room, and I was also waiting for some equipment for videos. As you can see, I got myself a new microphone, and I'm recording you now from a camera stand, like a tripod, so I've gotten some upgrades, so I was waiting for those things to arrive as well. And I've been meaning to do these videos, and I already tried to record them once, but I lost the footage, so there's been a lot of things that have prevented me from doing these videos, but I'm finally going to be getting into it, so yeah. And I have, I would say, a decent amount of things to say about this episode, because it was, again, surprisingly enjoyable. Although I also definitely have some criticisms, which, as good as this season might be, these episodes are still prevented from being like rewatchable or as good as they could have been because of that. So let's see, where do I start? I'm not gonna be doing like the recap review kind of thing that I've been doing with some of the other series that I review, like The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead World Beyond. And instead I'm gonna be doing more of a things that I liked about the episode. So I'd say probably I should start off with the biggest thing that I was impressed by in this episode, that being the Doctor herself. Because I'm gonna be honest, for the longest time, and I still honestly kind of think so, but for the longest time, I didn't think Jodie Whittaker was the right choice for the Doctor. I feel like her casting as the Doctor was the first time the character was miscast. Because even though some actors obviously took longer than others to grow into the role, I felt like Jodie Whittaker never really did. And whether that is up to because of Chibnall's writing or because of Jodie Whittaker's acting, honestly it doesn't really matter, because that final product ultimately was something that I did not enjoy and did not feel like was the Doctor. But after this episode, yeah, I can actually kind of see her as the Doctor now. And I think the things that were lacking with her character was probably the wit and kind of like the gravitas and some of the scheming behind the scenes that the Doctor tends to do. And these little things just made me like her in this episode, you know? Because in this episode we had her say some really witty lines, especially when she was facing off with the Sontaran, where she was talking to him, and she asked him to remove his helmet, then he removed his helmet, and she said, "On second thought, put it back on." Like, that was a really snarky line that I feel like any other Doctor would have done. Like, it's a very snarky line, and the Doctor is a snarky character, so it makes sense to have a line like this. And then there was another snarky line when she was talking to the General, and she asks him something about the Sontarans. I think she asks for a map or something, and he says that he's been working on it, and she replies, "Yeah, I can smell the alcohol from here." That was a really witty line as well. Like, I was really enjoying those witty lines, and we even had some of those lines in the previous episode, when she and Yaz were tracking Dan and got to his computer, as I mentioned in my review. I really was shocked by how funny that line actually was. There was, again, some of the skimmery kind of thing where the Doctor is using anything to their advantage. Like how usually the Doctor would use the fact that some people might underestimate him, like especially the 11th Doctor or even the 12th Doctor, would use people underestimating them as a way to gain advantage over their enemies. And in this episode, the 13th Doctor uses the fact that the Sontarans don't know her new face and that she is female now as a way to essentially negotiate with one of the Sontarans as a way to get some of the other Sontarans out for a warning to leave this planet and to get more information about what exactly their plan is, you know? And I thought that was really cool. I feel like we should have gotten this kind of plot line or like an idea with the first female Doctor using the fact that she's the first female Doctor as a way to be underestimated so she can defeat her enemies, because I feel like that's something inherent to the character that we've had before, you know? So to not have that be one of the first things that you do with a first female Doctor just feels like a waste. But I'm glad that we finally got it, you know? Okay, let me see. What else did I like about this episode? I mean, in general, like, it was a fun episode. Probably the funniest lines ended up being by, obviously, Dan, who has instantly become, like, one of the most loved companions in Doctor Who, which is really funny because he doesn't really do that much. I mean, in this episode, he does, but in the other, next two, he doesn't really do that much. So I'm kind of sad that probably once Flux is over, or at best once the era of the 13th Doctor is over, we're probably not going to see him again, because I doubt that RTD is going to keep him around. But yeah, he's very likable. And all the scenes with him and his parents back in Liverpool, and with the walk that his mom and dad gave him, was just really hilarious. And as I'm talking about hilarious moments, probably my favorite moment of the episode was when the Doctor and Dan were communicating on the Sontaran ship, and the Doctor asks Dan what he has to work with, what kind of weapons he has, and he says, a walk. And she says, why have you got a walk? And it's just really funny, like, that is the Doctor to me. That feels like the Doctor. It feels like something David Tennant, Matt Smith, or Peter Capaldi would say. And I feel like it's just like this kind of like snark is something that especially Moffat loved to do. Like, that kind of line is straight up out of Moffat's kind of writing, which I really love. I can even literally remember a line from one of Moffat's episodes. Or actually, no, it wasn't a Moffat episode. It was actually a Chibnall episode, wasn't it? Like the Dinosaurs on a Spaceship episode, where Rory's dad is on the spaceship and he carries golf balls in his pants, and a dinosaur smells them and everything. And Rory says, what you carrying on all these things around for? Like, that kind of tone that he makes in that episode when he says that is very similar to what the Doctor did in this episode. So it clearly shows that Chibnall knows how to fucking write, but why didn't he write this good before? But the thing is, even with these good dialogue and like improved dialogue and characterization and everything, there's still the fact that he can't write plot for shit, frankly. He just can't. Because the biggest issue with these episodes so far, because I've seen up to episode 4, is that the overarching plot of the Flux and Swarm as a villain just kind of degrades any of the actual stories that we get in these episodes. Because episodes 2, which is the War of the Sontarans, and episode 4, which is featuring the Weeping Angels, are the best episodes of this season so far and out of the Chibnall era. But both of these episodes are kind of ruined by the forced inclusion of the Flux plot into them. Because War of the Sontarans would probably be one of the best Sontaran episodes, period, in the show's history if it wasn't for the Flux crap. Because their plan was actually interesting, of them traveling back in time and kind of taking over the planet at different points in time, or at least that's what their plan was originally. They first did it in Crimea. So that's like a very cool timey-wimey plan. And it genuinely feels like something Moffat would have done. Because Moffat loves to say the line, Sontarans perverting the course of human history. And this is literally exactly that. So really this feels like a Moffat episode. Like, did they bring Moffat to write some of these episodes, like as a ghostwriter? I mean, I doubt it because there's quite a lot of flaws for these episodes that don't feel like Moffat flaws necessarily, but still. So yeah, it's a really cool plan, and I really enjoyed how they took it down with Dan and Carvanista essentially doing what Sokka did in Avatar: The Last Airbender at the end there, with just taking one of the enemy's ships and doing a ship slice. That was really funny to me, and all the interactions between the Carvanista and Dan are golden, man. They're so fucking good. I genuinely want Carvanista to become like a recurring character or something because he's so funny. Like, this season is so fucking good in that regard. Like, the jokes are something that has been severely lacking in the last two seasons. Because I don't think there was a single moment in the last two series where I felt even remotely like laughing. And now in these like 4 episodes that I've seen so far, I've laughed my ass off so many times. Like, it's kind of shocking how little they needed to improve for us to be able to enjoy the show again, you know? Because I feel like there's still shit ton of flaws with this episode, but I enjoy it, you know? Even the music feels better. Like, I'm still not anywhere as entertained by it as I was with Murray Gold, but it's better because at the very least there's actual music, not fucking ambience. But yeah, I don't know. I just love everything. So yeah, where was I going? Oh yeah. So yeah, the plot with the Sontarans taking over the planet and everything is cool and all. But the thing is, when you kind of squeeze it down to the most important parts of the episodes, which are not filler in regards to that story, the story only amounts to maybe 25 to 30 minutes of the episode, really. I don't really think this episode, if it was just the Sontarans, the way it was in this episode, would have been enough to fill up an episode. But at the same time, having the Flux crap all over it kind of ruins this episode as well because of that. Because, as I said, the episode on its own has only about 25 to 30 minutes of actual substance in regards to the Sontarans. And then you have like about 20 minutes of the Flux crap and some random shit and random characters showing up here and there, which kind of makes the Sontaran plot feel more longer than it actually is. But I honestly would have preferred a more fleshed out solo Sontaran episode. I don't understand why Chibnall can have just done that. I mean, I know that this is like an overarching storyline and everything, which, by the way, it's really funny to me how many shows right now are doing these kind of special event episodes, because there's Doctor Who doing the Flux, there's The Flash doing Armageddon, and then there's Riverdale with their weird special, which I don't watch Riverdale, but I just know that there's some kind of a special because they're just going bonkers with that special. But it's really funny to me that they're doing that. But yeah, I just feel like both the Flux kinda makes this episode feel more complete and more finished than it actually is, but at the same time it's kind of degrading the story that the episode is supposed to be about, aka the Sontarans. Because we don't really get to flesh out the story and the face-off that much. It feels kind of rushed as well, because all of a sudden, after the Doctor has her confrontation with the Sontaran leader, 2 fucking armies, one of Sontarans and one of humans, show up out of fucking nowhere, and the battle just happens. Like, that was rushed as hell. I feel like that could have been a cool climax. Could have been really cool, but it's honestly just a footnote at the end of the day, because it doesn't really have much of a significance to the plot or anything. So yeah, I think I covered pretty much everything. I like the Jodie as the Doctor now. I still would have liked even better writing that actually kind of planned out where the character was going to go and develop and everything. But at least I don't think that she was miscast anymore. So that's an improvement. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm almost forgetting. I want to talk about the villain Swarm a little bit now because I've watched some behind the scenes stuff with the actor who really seems familiar. I don't know why. I don't know, and I don't think I've seen him in anything ever. But he really seems very familiar, and I think he's actually really fucking good actor. And the character as well is very entertaining. I love how extra and over the top he is, and everything. The only thing that I don't like about him is his look. I prefer his look when we first saw him, like his older version of him, where he's more old and more. I think he like has even a beard or whatever, but now his longer form just doesn't really look great. It looks. I mean, I don't know really how to describe how it looks. It just looks not aesthetically pleasing to look at, I guess. It just doesn't feel satisfying to look at. His head feels like it's made of rubber, and the way it's kind of. I don't know how to say, it's not really sharp anywhere, just kind of doesn't work for me. And that also, I guess, plays into something that I'm gonna talk about also in the Angels episode. That is that I feel like the effects for the villains, monsters, whatever you want to call them, doesn't really look as good as it used to. Because like the Sontarans now, they have a little bit of a different look compared to their look from the rest of the modern era, and this one seems to be more closer to the original classic Who version of the Sontarans. But I don't understand why you would necessarily want to go back to that. Because back then, Doctor Who was super restricted in terms of the budget. So they had to do a lot of things on the cheap side. And obviously for people who enjoyed the show, they were willing to overlook that crap. But in Modern Who, the effects have generally been looking pretty good, especially like the alien looks and everything. And the Sontarans in Modern Who, like they genuinely look like fucking potatoes. Like it didn't look like a mask or a prosthetic that they're wearing. It just looked like a head. But now with this current interpretation of the Sontarans, the fact that you can see the lips of the actors underneath, which is not necessarily like a bad work on the prosthetic. That's how it's supposed to look because that's how it looked in Classic Who, and this is more in line with Classic Who. But I feel like that personally just doesn't work for me because I don't like being able to see their real lips underneath their supposed alien mouth that is the prosthetic, you know? I just feel like the other look, like the look that we had with Strax, and in general for the whole of New Who during the RTD and Moffat eras, just looked better. I feel because it looked more real, it looked more consistent. It felt like it was going for realism more than it was going for style, which this one is definitely going more for style. And that is kind of the same for Swarm, I guess. His head looks fake. It looks like a prosthetic. It doesn't look like an alien that has that as its head. It looks like a prosthetic. And I don't necessarily want to talk about the Weeping Angels effect because that should be probably something I'm going to talk about in that video review, but I didn't think they really looked that great either. I feel like at least they looked worse than we've ever seen them before. That might be down to the cameras that they're being shot at because everything in the current era of Doctor Who with Chris Chibnall just looks a little washed out compared to the Moffat era, which looked really colorful and had a lot of depth to the colors. So that might be the reason why I don't like how well they look. Maybe they're using CGI with them now. That is very likely now that I think about it. I don't know. But they just didn't look that great to me. And it's kind of pathetic that at this point in time, Doctor Who can't even do effects that they nailed how many 13 years ago in Blink. But yeah, overall a very enjoyable episode, and it was at the time that I watched it my favorite episode of the Chibnall era easily. So in terms of a rating for this one, I'm going to give actually two different ratings. One is going to be 8.6 out of 10, which is in relation to the rest of the Chibnall era, how good this episode feels compared to the rest of the Chibnall era. And I think it's a straight up 8.6 out of 10. It's one of the best, not the best episode of the Chibnall era. But in relation to the rest of Doctor Who, I would say it's closer to like a 6.8 out of 10. Like easily when you add all the context of the rest of Doctor Who, the current era, all the ratings for the episodes kind of drop like at least like 1 to 2 points further down. So for this one, I'm going to give a 6.8 out of 10 in terms of all of New Who. But yeah, I enjoyed it. At least Doctor Who is enjoyable now. Like I can watch it and I can enjoy it. Although we'll see where the storyline is going to go and whether I'm going to be pissed off by another retcon or maybe some information about the retcon that we still have been yet to find out, because in addition to the overarching storyline of this season being the Flux, we also are supposed to learn more about the Division. So I'm a little scared based on some of the theories and comments that I've read on the Doctor Who and Gallifrey subreddit about where we could be going with this storyline, but I guess we'll see, and whenever it happens, I'll make sure to run my ass out for that. But yeah, what did you guys think about this episode? Comment down below and let's have a discussion about it. And also, before we end this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to my currently 3 patrons on Patreon: Omari Bridgman, Deadpool, and Lemonade. Thank you guys for supporting me, it really means a lot, I really appreciate it, and I hope you continue enjoying my videos for a long time, and maybe some of you who are not supporting me on Patreon decide to do it as well. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Also, check out the description to my Twitter if you want to follow me over there, and to my Wattpad or post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you enjoy my stories or you simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to Patreon where you can pledge support and help get the channel going, help support me so I keep writing stories you enjoy. You can also support me on my Ko-fi account, although keep in mind that is more for like a one-time donation kind of thing, so you don't really get any benefits over there, but for now that is kind of like a one-time donation support kind of thing, because I still cannot have members on my YouTube channel. But whether you want to support me, either way, it's completely up to you. I don't want to guilt trip you or anything, so you decide. And if you don't want to support me monetarily, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think it's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!